Crime Writers On is the podcast where authors and journalists talk about the latest true crime series, documentaries, and podcasts.
We talk about what's on the charts and find those up-and-coming podcasts that you'll be talking about.
It's like a fun and smart book club discussing what makes good storytelling and teaching how to become a critical listener.
Or not. And stick around for the Crime Writers Thumbs Up, Thumbs Down reviews.
It's the original true crime review podcast. Crime Writers On, wherever you get your podcasts.
Like probably right here.
Making movies isn't easy. From writing to pitching to producing, there are many obstacles getting from idea to screen. Even after you've completed casting, scouted all of your locations, and actually filmed the movie, you could run into obstacles. You could face a rumor from one of the stars you claim to fire who claims they quit. You could have a bad relationship with one of the leads of your film. You could be in a relationship with another lead of your film. You could have that lead of your film be rumored to spit on yet another lead of your film at the film's world premiere. And with all of these highly publicized incidents, you could be facing inquiries from people asking everything except the most important question. Is the movie good? Well, don't worry, darling. I'm going to let you know. I'm Ronald Young Jr., and I'm leaving the theater. Check, check. This is Ronald, and I'm leaving the theater after saying, "Don't worry, darling," with a pack of teenagers and or young women, I don't know, right behind us, which seems to be the theme of this entire screening. But again, don't worry, darling. Don't worry, darling. Written by Katie Silberman, directed by Olivia Wilde, starring Florence Pugh, Harry Styles, Olivia Wilde, Gemma Chan, Kiki Layne, Nick Kroll, and Chris Pine. For a full cast listing, check out the link in our show notes. I'm once again here with my unofficial co-host and Harry Styles superfan.
Oh my God.
Yeah, you almost killed me. Harry Styles superfan, Nick Hill. Oh, sorry. Yeah, you should. Who are you? Who are you?
You say my name. It's me, Nichole. Nick.
All right. So, Don't Worry, Darling is a movie starring Florence, in which there's a bunch of women and men in what looks like some sort of like idyllic Stepford wife situation, probably set in the most Americana of time, so like the late 60s, early 70s.
No, that's the 50s.
No, that's definitely the 60s.
This 50s. If anything, it's late 50s, early 60s. But that style of dress, you wear those dresses in the 50s and 60s. You don't wear them in the 70s. You wear pants in the 70s. No women in pants.
Yeah, but, okay. It was definitely the 60s.
I said late 50s, early 60s.
I don't think that was the 50s.
It could be late 50s, early 60s.
But they had color television.
All I ever saw was it in black and white.
It's because she was watching the skeletons.
Yeah, but who was ever watching anything else?
Well, if the landscape looked to me like 60s television.
I think
like the way they were.
But when you think perfect Americana, make America great again, you're thinking about the 50s.
I am not. I am thinking about the 60s.
You're not. The 60s, the crazy, rebellious 60s?
Correct.
That's not what the MAGA types are thinking of.
I don't know, man. This looked like it was set in the 60s to me. So it's set in somewhere between 1950 and 1980. And
It's definitely, I watch these movies, though. I'm like I'm a Turner Classics movie. Like, the 50s is an amazing time for cinema. Golden age of television.
So somewhere in the night between 1900 and 2000 is the setting for this film. But in this idyllic setting, they got all these muscle cars, all this stuff, and they're running around, and these dudes have all these wives that are impossibly attractive, dressed well, and one of them, played by Kiki Layne, begins to suspect that their environment is not real. And this idea begins to be carried on by a character played by Florence Pugh named Alice, and they began questioning the nature of their reality, and that is the movie. So if you've seen the preview, I would argue that you've seen 3/4 of this movie in a lot of ways. Nichole,
Yes.
what did you think of this movie?
Like, it's fine. Like, it's like, ugh, you've seen it. Everyone has seen this movie so many times before. First of all, I was listening to something where they were talking about how when studio execs don't think a movie will do well, they put everything in the trailer to try to be like, please, please come. That is 100% what they did here. Every interesting shot is in the trailer.
Yep.
Every allusion to the twist is in the trailer.
Yep.
It's all in the trailer.
Yes.
So you see the trailer, you have essentially seen this movie. I will say that it is beautiful, though.
Beautiful movie.
Gorgeous.
Yes.
Gorgeous, amazing shots.
Yes.
Really, just like the cinematography is really cool. They got some very cool drone shots there at the end. So that was really nice. But in terms of the story itself, I just didn't care what happened to anyone. I mean, Florence Pugh is a force. Like, she's an incredible person to watch on screen. So she was just like, it's always fascinating to be like, look how she's choosing to act this out, like, amazing. But I didn't care about anything.
I think you basically nailed everything for me too. I would add the costume design was also good.
Gorgeous.
Like, looking at what they were wearing was nice.
Except for Florence, nothing that Florence Pugh was wearing fit her.
It did seem like they were, well, when she wore that dress shirt, it sure did fit her.
All the dresses seemed like too old for her. Like, I mean, her age really stood out. Like, it just was like, the dress is too old for you, and it's not really like that. It doesn't fit appropriately.
Yeah. No.
I think maybe that was on purpose. I don't know.
I think like costume design was good. I think the set design was good. I think they did a lot of good things in this movie in terms of like how it was shot. I like the fact that they said we needed the IMAX experience. The sound design was very good. Like, I thought there were times in there, and I think I was glad I saw it in an IMAX theater because there was a lot of like creepy things that they did that I think was like very effective in setting the tone of this movie. So I think that was good. Other than that, I feel like this movie was all hype. I remember towards the end, like, again, I told y'all, you've seen 3/4 of the movie in the previews. I remember at one point, by the time we start getting to the part where they begin unlayering and unwrapping the mystery, I'm like, just get to the point. Like, what is it? All right. Like, just tell us what it is already. I'm like, we've done all this. And I knew we were in trouble when one of the earliest scenes in the movie is something we saw in the trailer, and I'll just tell you what it is. One of the earliest scenes in the movie is Florence Pugh kind of coming upon this dome-shaped building.
Yes, that's right.
That is, I mean, it's so early in the movie, I knew we were in trouble. Mm-hmm. As soon as I saw it, I was like, oh, this is the shot from the preview that they keep showing. This was supposed to be a climax shot. This is a beginning of the movie shot. And as soon as I saw that, I'm like, oh my God. So they're gonna milk this mystery for the entire film? Like, we're just never gonna know like what it is, you know what I mean? So it bothered me. I didn't think that bothered me. And I think there were some parts of plot details that I think, I think this movie wants to be more feminist than it is. And I think I feel like if we get to a point where we're seeing, actually, I'll save that for after the credits because I can't really get into that much. But yeah, I just watching it, I just like, you get to the end and you're just like, meh.
Exactly. It's just kind of like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
I was wondering, I was trying to think to myself, like, why don't I care more? And I think that it could have been that this was just maybe because nothing was really explored that much. The motivations of the man is explored or something. There's just something lacking in our like other, it's Florence and she's married to Harry Styles.
Yeah.
And Harry Styles is doing he's fine. He's doing a fine job.
Yeah.
There's something that he is not bringing that is making that like she can't make up for.
Correct.
It feels like she's doing a lot of work alone.
Yes.
And Chris Pine is kind of showing up there and being like the weird, like guru dude. He's doing his job. But there's something that Harry needed to be doing. There's some type of like emotional depth or like, for example, I was thinking, we've never seen them have an entire conversation until the end. They make out, they have sex. You've seen the sex already. It's in the trailer.
In the trailer.
It's literally in there.
Yeah.
And like, that's kind of all they do. They never talk. So the connection isn't really that. You just get the sense that they are very into each other, which literally strangers could be that into each other.
And I'm glad you said that, because I remember thinking that one of the things that bothered me about all this was it seems like they seem to be very into each other physically.
Yeah.
And it seemed like the movie kept hammering that point home.
Yes.
But then there's no real payoff to that point later on as to like why.
Right.
Full disclosure, Nick and I are seeing this at a premiere event.
Premiere.
Yeah, in which we got to watch it, and there was like an interview with some of the cast in the beginning of the film, and apparently it was simulcast in IMAX theaters all over the world. And one of the things that we should note is that the crowd that we were watching with was largely young white women who were obsessed with Harry Styles. Which like wasn't an issue until every time he was on screen,
right.
There was like audible reactions from the crowd in a way that wasn't helpful.
Right.
Like it'd be like he's on screen and you'd hear,
or they start laughing. They'd all just start giggling, like little teens. They're like, it's Harry. And it's like he's been there the whole, like, he's going to keep being on the screen.
You get unadulterated Harry Styles in this movie. Like you could just enjoy it the whole time.
And he just isn't really doing that much.
Not at all.
And Florence is bringing it.
Yeah, she's like, okay, and I just want to piggyback.
Yes.
She is, I was sitting here watching, I was like, she's eating.
Yes.
She is eating in this movie. She is doing what we want Florence to do. Like, we want you to come. We want you to cry.
Yes.
We want you to emote with your face. We want you to take choices where we're just like, oh, okay, I wouldn't have done it. That works. You know what I mean? I want you to do that. But you can't put her up against Mr. Ordinary, as far as I'm concerned. I don't think he did a bad job.
Yeah, he's just fine. Like, if you just threw anyone in a movie.
Yes.
He has nice eyes. His eyes look sad sometimes when they needed to.
Yeah.
That's about it.
Yeah, and I feel like the crowd was so into him that it's like they were missing. It's like there were performance notes that I felt like I was missing, because he would show up and I'd be like, did something happen where he did something, or did he just literally just show up?
Present.
Yeah.
He's literally just there and they're freaking out. But they're they're his target demographic. So
And that's fine. I'm okay with that. And I guess that doesn't really take away from the movie, but it's certainly, like, for a movie like this that had a lot of hype with us going in, I think I expected a little bit more. And I think the performances in this movie, and I got to give it to Olivia Wilde. I think she did fine performing in this movie. For her to have directed the movie as well. But I definitely don't think that this is going to go down as one of her masterpieces. Like, I think Booksmart was better.
Yeah, I agree. I think Booksmart was better. I think that this one is trying to say something about, it's actually not saying anything about feminism. It's saying things about men and toxic. I wouldn't even call that masculinity. I would call that incel culture. It's not.
Well, okay, we'll get into it after the credits, but they didn't even flesh that all the way out.
Right.
They didn't even, and I think that's what bothered me, is I'm wondering, and we'll get into it after the credits. If you're on Patreon, we're gonna get there, we promise. But yeah, it feels like there was a lot there. You know what? For the hype that this movie had going in, and most of the hype was coming from perceived drama outside of the. And actually, can you give us a quick primer on what happened here? Because a lot of people don't know this, but there was a lot going on between the premieres and with. Well, I don't.
Oh, that's right.
I only know headlines. All I know is somebody got spat on, and
Spat on, nice word.
yeah. And I didn't get the timeline after that.
Okay, this is my honor. So this movie gets announced. Everybody's so excited about it. And Shia LaBeouf is the original lead. I kept thinking, what would it be if Shia were here? He'd really bring it.
Was Shia playing? Who was Shia playing?
Harry.
Shia was Jack?
Yeah.
Oh, he would have ate.
Imagine.
He would have ate.
And like it just okay, so he's originally on board. And then around the time that he has the FKA twigs, sexual assault, all that comes out, he gets fired from the movie. Mm-hmm. The movie continues on. Olivia brings on Harry to be a star in it, and then a few months later, they're spotted holding hands. Are they together? We won't confirm it. And also, she's divorcing Jason. So we go about, we don't really hear too much about making the movie, and then she's doing a director's talk, and somebody serves her with divorce papers or custody papers at the talk, and she just like takes them, reads them, and it's like, okay, and keeps going. But then it's later like, those were custody papers. This was not an easy event to get into. Jason's like, oh my God, I don't even know how that happened. I don't even understand. She's like, but you couldn't just stroll into this event. You had to pre-register. You had to get cleared, your vaccines, booster, like all the things. So super sketchy. We continue on, and then the movie is kind of wrapped, but now it's weird because she again keeps talking about how she fired Shia LaBeouf, and Shia's like, you didn't fire me. And then he releases the videos or the tape of her being like, if I can get Miss Flo under control, we can really like get this thing going. Shia is basically like, I left because there was just some issues, hinting at between Olivia and Florence. She is Florence, Miss Flo. Okay, so then just like weird drama, but it all culminates in the Venice. Were they in Venice?
Yeah, it was the Venice Film Festival, or TIFF at Venice.
Where it's very weird. Okay, so then Florence does not show up on time. So the first night, the crew has to do it all together. Olivia and Harry are very far apart, and they're not talking to each other. And whenever she gets near him, he leaves. Then when they sit down, Harry is sitting down, and he like looks like he's spitting on Chris Pine. What I actually think happened is that Chris Pine was stoned. He put his sunglasses down. He started clapping. He saw his sunglasses, remembered they were there, and then picked them back up. And I think that's why it looked like he got spit on, because he was just high out of his mind.
Good for him.
He looked so bored and so high. He didn't want to do this. It was a favor. And then Florence showed up. She showed up late. She thanked Chris Pine by name, not anybody else. There's just like all of this weird, super internet-y gossip. But the overall feel is that Harry and Olivia broke up. Olivia has been disrespecting Florence. And she lied about Shia LaBeouf getting fired.
You know what? Listening to everything you said, one, it doesn't sound nearly as dramatic as I thought. I told him once.
A little bit at a time over the course of 2 years.
Yeah, I guess I'm not saying it's not really that it needed to be more dramatic, but I'm saying like when you put it all together like this, it does seem like if I am promoting this movie, I'm like, yes, please stir the pot, stir the pot. Maybe they won't talk about how like very average this movie is. Maybe they'll still be talking about the drama, and we'll get people to go watch the movie. Because to be honest with y'all, like one of the most exciting parts about doing this podcast is when a big movie comes out and knowing that people are going to come listen to the podcast. And so I'm like, yeah, bring the drama, because I'm going to talk about this with Nick, and we're all going to eat. You know what I mean?
Because all this drama, especially what happened in Venice, I was like, I cannot wait to see this movie.
Yes.
This super average. It's like, okay, fine, I'll buy this at Blockbuster and watch it on Sunday afternoon movie. But it was so exciting because of the drama.
Yeah.
So it reminds me of old Hollywood PR stunt campaigns where they're like, let's get the papers talking. That's what this was. It felt like that.
I also think that the thing that gets me is, and I think we're about to give our rating, but I think the thing that gets me about this is, if this had been a streaming movie, if I'd seen this on Netflix, I would have thought it was very good.
Yeah.
I would have been like, if I could sit on my couch and all that, but the fact that I had to listen to all of this drama and kind of deal with all that, and then like, you know, sit in this big event and all this to watch the movie, and for it to just be like just mind-numbingly average. I fell asleep twice.
Me too.
I know.
You were asleep.
I fell asleep twice, woke up, and didn't miss anything.
Nope.
Didn't miss one thing. So, yeah, with that, I give this movie, you know, it's weird, because if I could just rate the last fourth of the movie, I would probably give that like 3.5 stars. But the rest of the movie was painfully average, even though it was beautiful to watch. So, for me, it probably lands it's like just this. I feel like I want to say 2.99, which is like kind of like my symbol of saying you didn't quite make it. But I think I'm just gonna give it a firm 2.5 and just say it wasn't bad. I definitely, and the funny thing is, I might watch this again. If I see it on television, I'd probably be like, all right, I'm taking a nap anyway. So why not just keep the party going? I'll just sleep for the first hour, and then I'll wake up and we'll see what happens. But that's what I would say. What would you say?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's probably going to have to be for me a what did you say?
2.5.
Yeah, I think for me it's a 2.5 too. I think that ultimately Olivia really wanted to say something powerful about feminism, and she didn't.
Agreed.
But she shot a beautiful movie.
Yeah.
So pretty.
Yeah.
Beautiful gowns.
And we're going to talk more about the feminism angle and all that after the credits. For those of you that have Patreon, stick around. And before we go to the credits, we want to give a shout out to our first ever movie mogul, Peggy Lee Young. That's right, my mom, fan favorite, Peggy Lee, meaning that you can contribute on Patreon at the movie mogul level. And all you got to do is go to the show notes and click on the link there to become a Patreon subscriber. So we want to say thank you to Peggy Lee Young. Thanks, Mom. Really appreciate you. And with that, Leaving the Theater is a production of Oh It's Big Ron Studios. Tom Tyra of Bias Studios mixes the show. Thank you, Tom. Show art from Heather Wilder. Theme music by the mysterious Breakmaster Cylinder. For more information about Don't Worry Darling or Nichole Hill, check out our show notes. You can follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at Oh It's Big Ron. That's at OHITSBIGRON. You can find out more about this show and other Oh It's Big Ron Studios shows by following us on Instagram at Oh It's Big Ron Studios and on Twitter at Oh It's Big Ron Stew. That's STEW. Leaving the Theater will be back soon. Thanks for listening.
Sometimes people call me Cole, but don't.
Cole.
I'm fine. No, not Cole.
That's what you just...
No, I said some people call me that, but I don't like it.
Okay. Nikki.
No, that's even worse. I'm not engaging.